Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Colleen if you're new here, and I'm really glad that you've joined me today. Recently I had someone ask me if I ever cooked any healthy food, that they appreciated what I had shared so far, but they would like to see some healthy alternatives. And it's been a while since I shared anything that was terrifically healthy, I guess. But I would recommend having a look at the sheet pan dinners, because those I would consider to be pretty healthy, and you could definitely adjust them for your own taste. In the meantime, today I'm going to make a black bean salad with salmon, and I'm going to cook the salmon in my air fryer. And I am trying to learn to love the air fryer. I've had it for a couple of years and really I've only used it a handful of times, but I think if I could learn to love and use on a weekly basis my bread machine, then so maybe I could learn to love this thing and not just have it be an ornament on the counter, because I just struggle with it. I use my oven a lot, but I never think to use this air fryer. So I am, as the heat sets upon us here, the heat of the summer, well, I think it's time maybe to learn a new trick or two, because I could definitely plug this in outside and keep the heat out of my kitchen. And the rest of this meal is just preparation, so there would be nothing cooked inside. That could be handy, I think. So I'm going to give it a go today and see if this is all going to work out. It won't take long to come together, I don't think. So I will gather up the things I need to get started and be back right after this. So I think I have everything to get started. I'm going to start off making the dressing for the salad. I like to let it have a little time, get ahead of the game here. So I am going to use 1/3 of a cup of olive oil, and actually that was the 1/4 cup. Got the wrong cup in my hand. Now I need a knife. I need 1/4 of a cup of lime juice. Now I took these limes out of the fridge earlier today so that they would have time to come to room temperature, and hopefully they would release the juice that I need them to, because 1/4 of a cup out of tiny little limes is something. But I also need about a teaspoon of lime, the rind off the lime. So I am just going to zest this lime before I juice it, and that way I don't have to have one extra lime in the fridge that's all scarred up that I haven't cut into yet. So this is probably going to take about half the lime, I would say, and I'm just going to put it right in there, and then I'll start cutting. And I'm going to use my handy dandy little, I think they call them a reamer, and I'm going to get to work on these limes. Now it probably should take 1.5 or 2 limes should do it. Yeah, I think 1.5 is going to do it, but especially if I get it all in the cup and not all over the counter, that would be more helpful, I'm sure. And I probably should have done this over a measuring cup instead of like this. Here we go with number 2. This is such a sweet recipe. I love it. I shouldn't say sweet. Not sweet as in it's sugary sweet. Just sweet as in it's a great recipe. Now I'm going to go to the last. So this took 2. as I said, 1.5 or 2, and that is chock full. And had I been more diligent and not gotten it on the counter, I probably would have had the right amount right there. Now, also into this, I am going to put 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder and 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. Oops, sorry for the noise. And some people don't care for all these flavors together, but we really enjoy cumin. And I'm going to put some pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon, and about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And now I guess I need something to stir this with. Now I think also into the dressing, I'm going to do the garlic. So I've got 2 cloves of garlic here. Need a bigger knife. I happen to have on standby. I'm going to grab a cutting board and I am going to chop up. Actually, I should have minced them. It would have made more sense. But you know, sometimes you just don't make sense. It's like I'm having trouble today, folks. Hope you don't mind me buzzing around here. And I want these to be very, very finely chopped. I should have used my, this thing, which is escaping me right now. I should have used that and just, I'm sorry folks, I don't know what happened there. All of a sudden I got a warning that my camera was overheating. So I stuck it into the refrigerator. I don't know if that's a good thing to do or not, but I stuck it in there and I didn't go any further on this recipe. I was waiting for you. So I did do a little tidying up while I was giving my camera a cool down in the refrigerator. And so I finished mincing up the garlic, which I probably should have run through the rasp. I tried to make sure that none of the bits of garlic were big, because you don't want to bite into a great big piece of garlic for sure. So I'm just going to give that a stir. I'm going to set that over there and let it be happy with itself. And I am going to move on to the next step, which is the salmon. So I've got a generous piece here. I'm going to cut in half to make 2 pretty good sized fillets. And I see a little bit of scale on there, so I want to remove that for sure. And this is Atlantic salmon, fresh Atlantic salmon, and it's got a really tough skin. So I'm going to resort to the scissors because it is nicer to cook the salmon with the skin on. There we go. Now I'm just going to wash my hands, pick up those pieces of scale, I'll wash my hands, and then get ready to move on. Now, ready to move on. So for the salmon, I'm going to give it a generous amount of salt, and same with the black pepper. And then I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to each one of these fillets. And I'm going to rub that in. This will be the only oil that you need to add to this. Change hands. There we go. And I'm going to wash these hands again. This time I'm going to use soap. I appreciate how closely you guys all watch me, and sometimes you catch me doing things that you call me out on, like scratching my face or tasting something and then stirring the dish with the spoon I tasted, or other things that you just find horrific. I hope that the rest of the content doesn't bother you as much as that. I appreciate that you're here. And this is in my kitchen, and I'm feeding myself and my husband. Certainly if I was feeding a crowd of people, I would take a lot more care, because I do have food safe, which is required if you work in restaurants here in British Columbia. So I've used smoked paprika just to cover the top and give it a wonderful smoky flavor. Now I'm going to reach over here to my air fryer, and I don't know if the brand matters. This is a popular one, Kosori, I think. And for the first time I'm trying out these pan liners. I'm not sure whether they're worth the $2 I spent on them or not. So I am going to get a pair of tongs, and I'm just going to place them into the pan. I'm not preheating this pan, just right into the pan. And I'm going to stick them in the machine at 360 degrees. So there, and time set. I'm going to take that down to 6 minutes, which should do it, and then on. Okay, so you're going to hear a little noise from that. Hopefully that's not too distracting. Okay, we've got it running. I know that it's loud. I wanted to show you it running. Maybe I would do that differently another time. So now we're going to get started on the salad. I am just gathering up everything off the counter and get it all into place here. And I think I have it all. So we're going to start off with this big bowl and this tea towel, and I'm going to lay this tea towel just here for a minute. I'm going to drain this can of black beans. This is a 19-ounce can, and I'm going to drain and rinse, and then I'll be back. Now I've drained and rinsed them, and I'm just going to put them out onto this tea towel because I don't want the salad to be soggy. So I'm going to give these guys a gentle dry. They don't have to be perfectly dry, but we definitely do not want excess water on them. And that is for sure. I have a runaway there. Okay. So I think that's probably good. It doesn't need to be a lot. And I'm going to tip them in to pull. I'll get rid of that to go to the laundry. You need about half to 3/4 of a cup of red onion. So I'm just going to cut a piece of this red onion off. And I am going to dice this up. And again, fairly small because you don't want to bite into a big piece of onion any more than you want to bite into a big piece of garlic. And so take a little bit of time here to get that done right. Red onions, as you dice them up, they tend to separate themselves, so there's usually not a whole lot of work to be done there. Sometimes with red onions, the outer edge can be a little bit harder, so remove that if you find that's the case. So now I'm just going to pick this up and I'm just going to run it through my hands so that it breaks up all the pieces. And did that last little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to go after this pepper. It's kind of a 1 and 1 and 1 thing. You want about a cup of each of these things. And I'm going to get rid of the seeds and membranes. probably a fancy way to do that, but I didn't use it. I just got at it. I'm kind of watching the clock over here. I only have a minute left on my fish. Boy, that went fast, eh? And so I'm trying to get through this so that it can all come together. And it won't take long. Oh, there you go. Let me peek on the fish. Looks good to me. And it won't hurt it too much, I don't think. Just sit there for a couple of minutes while I work my way through this. And looks like I'm racing, doesn't it? Well, I sort of am. I want to show you how quick this can be done. Ooh, I should have put a towel under there. It's kind of noisy. So that's about a cup or so. Into the bowl with the rest. I need about 1 cup of corn. Now you could use fresh corn for this that you've roasted. I'm using frozen corn out of the deep freeze. And I don't mind that it's still frozen because this is a cold dish. So this will help to cool the dish down if we're going to eat it right away, which we are going to. And so the corn definitely adds some texture to it. Now you could definitely pre-cook the corn if it bothers you that it's not cooked, and by all means pre-cook it. Now we need some tomatoes. I'm just going to give these guys a rinse. And these are a pretty good size. I need about a cup of tomatoes too. I'm going to get a different knife for this job though. One that might be a little sharper. And I'm going to quarter these. Now I don't think I'm going to need to measure this. I'll just do what I think I need. So if you had everything lined up and ready to go, like I did, then you could probably have this meal all put together, I don't know, 15 minutes. So add another 5 minutes to that to make sure that you've got all your ingredients all lined up and ready to go. And you've got a meal, a good healthy meal, in 20 minutes, which, you know, can't beat that. And I don't think it can get much simpler than this, or much healthier. Now, just about here. I'm going to do 2 more. This one's super big. You don't want the pieces to be, you know, the only thing that would be on the fork. That's why I'm cutting them into quarters. And last for this dish, the one thing that my husband doesn't care for, so I'm going to leave them in fairly big chunks because that way he can pick them out. He doesn't care for cilantro, but I happen to love it. And so we kind of compromise. If sometimes I leave it out of a dish, and sometimes he picks it out of a dish. That's our compromise. Now I'm just going to tear it. And you know what? I see my husband arriving home. And so this timing could not be better. There we go. I'm going to call that good. You need about 1/3 of a cup. And in there it goes. Boy, I've made a mess in the kitchen today. In my hurry, I'm usually careful, but today I was trying to beat the clock. So I've got everything in there that I think needs to go in there. And I'm just going to give my dressing one last stir. And I'm going to pour it in there. And I tasted this dressing. It's so good. I'm going to give this a stir around. I'm going to set it aside while I get a plate. And then I'll show you how I serve this up. Just get this stuff out of the way so that you can see what's going on. And let's take a moment to tidy up for the big reveal. For a spatula and the basket of the air fryer. And can you see how nice and brown they look? That's that paprika. And everything gets nice and perfect. It's perfect as far as I can tell. And then I'm going to add a couple of scoops of this salad to it. And there we have it. That's what we're having for dinner tonight at our house. Check it out. That's salmon and black bean salad. And I hope that you are interested enough to try this dish for yourself. And if you haven't tried cooking salmon in your air fryer, this would be a good test for it because it turns out beautifully delicious. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, folks. And if you have, you'll give it a thumbs up and like, share it on your social media. That would be fantastic. And I will talk to you again really soon on the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.